Good morning. My name is Orit Gadiesh, and on behalf of Bain & Company, on behalf of our worldwide partner, Manny Maceda over there, and all our partners here, welcome to our 5th annual Davos Breakfast, and welcome back to many of you. As the invitation said, digital experimentation is easy, but digital transformation is hard. And not just because all transformations are hard. Digital transformation is often confused with introducing new technologies into the business, like IoT or machine learning, or fairly narrow applications of technology like digital payment. But these are incremental steps. Digital transformation is about rediscovering the raw customer need that you're serving, the essence of what a customer really values, independent of how the need is addressed today. It is strategic. And we're fortunate that we have 3 speakers who are uniquely qualified to discuss it. From IKEA, Jesper Brodin, who became CEO in 2017. From AXA, Benoît Claveranne is CEO of AXA International and New Markets, previously its Group Chief Transformation Officer. Kicking off the session is Ouriel Lancry, my friend and fellow partner from Bain & Company. Ouriel wears 2 hats at Bain. He's our Digital Transformation Officer, as well as the head of our global digital practice.
Digital is a very vexing word for a lot of executives. It's vexing because it means so many things to so many different people that, frankly, it's become kind of meaningless. So as Orit was saying, we believe that it's about technology. But it's also about the way people react to technology. Clearly, the GPS and mobile phones have made Uber or Airbnb possible, but so has the fact that all of us are willing to go sleep on a stranger's sofa or have a stranger sleep on our own sofa. And so that's why we think it's about disruption, but also innovation. And that's why when we work with our clients, we tell them to play offense and defense at the same time. So let's talk about digital strategy for a minute. The big question that we hear from our clients is, how do we get going? How do we start making progress? We're not exactly sure what the end game looks like. Seems like a bit of a daunting task. Henry Ford famously said, or rather probably was misquoted as saying, that if he had asked his customers what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse. And instead, he imagined a car. And our belief at Bain is that every single company has to simultaneously build a cheaper, better, faster horse and imagine a car. And that it's not a choice. All of you in this room are either dreamers or doers. And if you're a doer, you want to build a cheaper, better, faster horse. If you're a dreamer, you want to dream the car. That tension in boardrooms, in management teams around the world has created a lot of paralysis around the topic of digital. And so we think you really have to do both. And we think about that as thinking today forward. So what are 3 to 5 use cases that I could do that would start getting me in the direction of the future? And future back, imagining the future of your industry 5 years out, 10 years out, 20 years out, and starting to drive in that direction. The second big idea is stepping stones. And that's something that digital natives understand intuitively, and that's really hard to do for incumbents, for the people that are trying to migrate towards digital. And the idea there is not that you make progress 1 step at a time, but rather that frequently with digital, you do not see step 2 until you take step 1. Topic number 2 is business model. And so business model is about the product, the customer experience, also the economic model, because that changes so frequently with digital. And of course, the operations of your business. And that's where rediscovering the raw need is so critical. And you've got to do that, freeing yourself from today's product, today's customer experience, today's economic model. Companies tend to fall in love with their products. The products are a temporary answer to an underlying need that tends to be a lot more permanent. And if you think about the companies that have really rocked the world, they effectively changed an industry because of rediscovering a raw need. So Airbnb could have been in the real estate business like every other hotel company. Instead, they decided to be in the trust business. In fact, they've said that they wanted to build trust, Olympic trust is what they said, between people who have never met before. So let me close by saying that I realize this is daunting, but companies around the world are doing this right now. Natives, but also migrants.
We are in a humbling moment in IKEA, where we are not at this point in the lead, you can say, in digital development. But we are ambitious, we have seen the light, and I wanted to share with you today, from our business perspective, what we believe that the leap into digital and the transformation will mean for us. Looking at the trends in the world around us, there are many things going on. The first is the movement where the many people are moving out of poverty. So we see a massive movement, huge populations that are basically, for the first time, getting their first home, having a lot of needs, and for sure having thin wallets. So in a way, we are ambitious about how we make a better job in making IKEA accessible, but also affordable for these large groups of people. Secondly, people are moving into cities. That's been going on for a long time, and it's continuing. For us, that means a couple of interesting things. Obviously, overall, people are getting a smaller living space, which poses all sorts of practical issues, where we take a stand, and we have an ambition to actually support people in the practicalities in daily life. It also means people don't have the same means of transportation. So the business model of the 1900s in IKEA, with the big stores out on the potato field, if you like, is partly under the threat to how do we actually stay relevant to people in the future. The third trend we, all of us, I think, engaged during this week is obviously about climate, resource scarcity, and all the things that challenges our business models of the future. So stepping into a digital era, as you imagine, that opens an enormous landscape of opportunities for us. So the transformation for us is, as we have heard this morning, it's not so easy to understand, however, slightly difficult to make happen. It is about making IKEA accessible 24/7, whenever you like, wherever you like. To make not only the transactional side of IKEA, purchase of a product, of a chair, of a table, but actually how we bring our knowledge, which is the strength and uniqueness of IKEA, our knowledge in life at home, what happens to life when you get the first baby, when everything changes. I'm sure many of you recognize that moment. And through the different stages of life, the needs, where we sit on 75 years of experience, where digital now poses an opportunity for us to personalize, to meet each one of you, and support from our side with our knowledge. Obviously, beyond that, digital will help us to do something we've always been interested in. How do we keep a low cost? And finally, digital will help us to orchestrate logistics and orders in amazing ways in the future. As a company and community, we have decided that we are not going to think about it. We are taking the first steps. We don't know exactly what the second and the third step will look like, but we have an agenda, we have an ambition, and we have a solid and a profound conviction in who we are and what we can do for the world. And as such, we have decided to be fast learners into the field of digital.
Listening to Orit and Uriel this morning, I heard a few words that resonate a lot with the way we have approached the digital transformation and the digital journey at AXA. And actually, it's indeed a journey. And what is fascinating, it's somehow the name that we have used to it has evolved over the years. So many years ago, it was all about the web. Then we said, no, forget about the web, it's all about the mobile. So we went all for mobile. Then we said, no, forget about the mobile, it's all about the data. And then we're in the middle of the data, we say, no, hold on, it's all about AI. And the truth is, you have two ways to look at it. Either you look at it sequentially, and somehow you rush in every themes, or you take a step back, and at some point, you find some commonalities in this journey. And this is where the joke aside of going one step after another makes total sense. It's a journey, and now we know for a fact that it's not going to end. The way we approach it strategically, and I would even say even more importantly, from a management standpoint, is to tell to our people, it's a journey. So let's not dream that we will go back to the past world. This is just the way it is, and we will live in a world of permanent adaptation and change. And actually, when it's about digital journey or digital transformation, what matters is not only the tip of the iceberg, but what's below. So here we're talking about the people, we're talking about the processes, we're talking about the platforms, and for those in this room who have been in the business for decades, we're talking about legacy technology, which are very hard to transform. So let me illustrate that in very simple words. We are all for AI, and I'm sure we'll discuss that later. But what does an artificial intelligence means if you apply it to a stupid process? It means that your stupid process becomes artificially intelligent. 2, it's about identifying the skills that you need. And of course, one thing is to operate at a local level. I think this was your point, Orit, around the digital experimentation. The challenge is to scale. And the challenge is, how do you identify the skills that you will need going forward and how you orchestrate that? The third example, you might be surprised because AXA is a rather new company. We were created in 1985, but we grew by external acquisition. So we have acquired lots of, I would say, old companies. And there are many markets and big markets for us where we operate with systems dating back to 1970. And they work pretty well. The challenge is, how do you make work these very core processes with the digital experimentation? The last one is the data, because all the things that we're talking about digital, in the end, is about bringing data and how we do it. And here as well, I would say on one hand, we were quite advanced because our business is made of data. So I would say we were not that surprised and we knew how to work on it. But the truth is, the new world of data that we're working on was pretty new to us. We have the conviction that actually a lot of the innovation in the world of today and even more tomorrow will come not necessarily from advanced markets. And there is a lot of innovation happening in emerging markets, even in developing markets, which leapfrog all the issues I've just mentioned, who can afford to take more risks because the pool of profit is not the same, and at the same time, who can operate in a much cheaper and reactive way than we have. And in this context, there are many markets in which we have a totally different way to operate. I was sharing half our business is done with third parties, with brokers. You go to Colombia, for us, 29% of our business in Colombia is done through digital partnerships. You go to sub-Saharan Africa, we can quote you any motor policy just by you sending us 3 pictures. But we have realized that if we don't have the technology to support and to back those partnerships, it would not work. This is why we're believing a lot in the so-called API economy. And we develop API platforms, for instance, in Singapore, where basically we offer to any potential partner, airline company, retail, to plug and play and have to offer insurance products to their clients in a seamless way. For us, the challenge is going to be around how we capture those new opportunities. And last and not least, how do we embark our people? Because I'm back to my first point. When you are in such a transformation, the key challenge is to embark the people. So you were kind enough to quote the simpler, smarter, faster motto that we had. But actually, it was a very simple way to make sure that everyone in the organization knew what he or she had to do. Thank you.